right, so last week I talked about prayer as vacuum, and I've listened back to it a couple of times. I posted the YouTube link if you haven't seen that. I recorded it in camera, so I have a nicer video of it now. So the one point I didn't seem to clearly make, I'm going to make it now, and that is that in this thing we call prayer, that if we want to have our prayer received by what we call the higher self within, the guide, the God, spiritual, the divine, whatever we want to call it, we have to create a vacuum in ourselves. Okay? Because when we create a vacuum in ourselves, then it draws, that force becomes so strong, and it draws that higher agency, that highest intelligence to come into us and work for us. Not that it's always there, but we're giving space for it, and we're creating a vacuum. And when we think about this idea of prayer, I gave these two gestures that are so powerful, just to bring us to a place of oneness. Not that we have to do that. I'm just saying historically these gestures are related to prayer and are very powerful gestures. We get the sense of just being a real supplicant and putting ourselves in the most humble position, and not asking in words, but just being able to receive, opening ourselves up to receive. And the only way we can receive is by putting ourselves in the most humble position, which creates that inner vacuum and openness to receive. And one thing I talked about on Monday on my YouTube show, I took up this topic again, and I didn't mention it on Saturday, is that Babaji said that he said the way we approach everything is in three different ways. He said, especially the spiritual path, he calls it subtle, subtler, and subtlest. And he says the subtlest thing is the most powerful thing. So when we think about this concept of prayer, or connecting within, we can think about this in terms of subtle, subtler, and subtlest. So what would be the subtle prayer? The subtle prayer would be something spoken. We're speaking it out. What would be the subtler version of prayer is the one that we're thinking internally. What would be the subtlest form of prayer? It's the one that we're feeling. It's the feeling. So that's really what I was talking about last week. Now, this ties in with the topic of today, which is all about healing, and healing of the heart. Emotional healing is huge. Healing physically. The topic of healing is very prevalent in the world. So I'd like to take up the first version of this, which is the emotional aspect of healing the heart. Today, the world is plagued with anxiety, stress, but also plagued with depression, loneliness, and sadness. These are the things, and I personally sort of get a little bit of a compass on this, because so many people from Quora contact me from around the world over the past 7 years that I've been writing on there. Thousands of people. And so a lot of people write to me about what they're going through, and my heart really goes out to them. And that was an eye-opener for me. I didn't I never saw that coming, to be honest with you. I never saw that coming. I did not ever think about when I'm gonna start writing on Quora and I'll write some answers and maybe it will do some good. I never expected people to reach out to me in masse, and become a sounding board kind of and a listener, because I found that most people, they just want somebody to listen to them. And so this has been a great learning experience for me to be able to listen. And I'm a pretty good listener, I think. and this has been a huge lesson for me to listen to all of these stories. And it's brought me to a point in my life where prayer has become an essential aspect, because, when you hear the stories and hear what's around the world, how people are feeling, we can't help but feel moved and feel a sense of love and compassion, and can't help but feel a sense of an automatic prayer going up, for the betterment of everyone. So I want to focus on, I'm not going to take up depression because that's a topic that I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything. I don't have any, letters after my name. So I feel more comfortable saying I can talk about things like sadness and loneliness. And so what I'd like to say about this is something I've learned, is that when we feel sad and we feel lonely, what's missing in our life? What's missing is love. We want to feel love. Now, I think we can all relate that many times in our life, if not most times in our life, we are not in a situation where we're feeling directly the love of another person. And when we do, it's something very special. It's such a special thing to feel that, yes, wow, I'm feeling someone is caring about me. I'm feeling their love. I'm feeling their concern. I'm feeling their compassion. But one thing I've noticed in this spiritual journey is that love is an interesting thing. In a way, we all want to feel love, feel loved. But what I've discovered is that love is exactly the same whether we are giving it or receiving it. There's no real difference in the feeling of love. It's exactly the same, exactly the same. And in fact, it's more intrinsic to our nature to be a giver. I think all of us here, I'm very sure, want to do good for the world, want to help in any way, whether it's by thought or by volunteering or however it is. It manifests in so many different ways. So I've really focused on this giving aspect of love, and I have found that this is sort of a secret to the healing of our hearts. Because in these moments when we experience loneliness and we feel sadness, we can give love. And when we do that, it is a tremendous healing force. Tremendous healing force. Why would that be a healing force when we're feeling sad and lonely? Why would that be? Well, when we go down the road of feeling sad and lonely, we start replaying this feeling over and over and over again. And there may be circumstances, specific circumstances involved as to why we're in that situation. And we will replay that circumstance over and over and over again. And we will usually add some blame in there as to why I'm feeling this way, and something is to blame, or somebody is to blame. And we add that in there, and we replay that over and over and over. And every time, look, the mind, anything the mind puts its focus on, it amplifies it. So every time we go down this road of blame, or thinking about why me, we magnify, we amplify that feeling, and it becomes the rabbit hole that we start spiraling in the wrong direction. So I have discovered that when we can just apply a small amount, very small amount of effort, and now take this power of the mind to amplify whatever, magnify whatever we put our attention on, we can apply a simple technique and actually heal this feeling in ourselves. Now, I've written this on Quora a few times, but I want to share it with you today. So we can do this anytime, but bedtime is a good time to take up something like this. And we do this same thing many times at the end of our meditation. So here's what it is. At bedtime, sitting on the side of the bed or sitting up in bed, you make the thought, you remember anyone and everyone who has meant something to you in your life, who has been good to you in your life, whether they're here or whether they're gone. We remember those who have been good to us in our life, who we looked up to, who we felt helped our confidence, who we felt loved us. Think about them. Take them into your thought and create a feeling in your heart of gratitude. Think of them and feel gratitude, and let that gratitude blossom, because gratitude is the forerunner of love, in my opinion. First comes gratitude, and then really comes love, comes after that. So, over the course of a week, let's say, every night you take this up and let that gratitude for all those helpful people in your life just blossom forth and become love, and feel that love, and feel you're sending that love forward to them. Even if they're departed from this world, you just feel this love is there, that they are receiving it. Make the thought that they are receiving your love and gratitude. And do this. Get immersed in it. Do this for 5 or 10 minutes, or even longer if you feeling it. And let yourself fall asleep in this immensely powerful feeling of love for others. The next morning, when you wake up, it will be amazing. So much of this self-indulgence about our sadness and loneliness will be dissipated. Why? Because we've created love and gratitude. And it doesn't matter if we're on the recipient end or not. It is exactly the same feeling. And in the morning, when we wake up, and sometimes you can even leave a note for yourself or put a Post-it note on the mirror in the bathroom. Take 2-3 minutes and start the day with the thought that, I am so grateful for this day. I'm grateful for being here and for whatever this day is going to bring me. That completes this cycle. So this is a very simple healing technique that we can use to, move away from loneliness and sadness and move towards a feeling of love for others. And, when we finish our meditation, if you think about how and for those of you who haven't meditated with us before, when we meditate together, we receive a very special inner atmosphere, an inner condition. And by the end of the meditation, we're all in a very different state than when we began the meditation. Everybody feels that. It's profound. It's beyond words. But at the end, when we come out of the meditation, we have the thought that, I'm sharing this now. I'm sharing what I've received with my family, with my friends, with my loved ones, with my neighbors, with people I don't even know. I'm sharing this feeling with my city. I'm sharing this feeling with the people of my country. I'm sharing this feeling with the whole world. This is how we've been doing our meditations, and it's a very beautiful and very powerful thought, because thought is powerful. And when it comes to our emotional well-being and our physical well-being, it all stems from two things. It stems from our mental state, and it also stems from our past impressions, our past samskaras, our deep-rooted impressions from this life, and if you believe in other lives, from those lives too, that get carried forward into this life. These deep-rooted impressions, they set up all the cause and effects of what's coming for us in this life, these patterns. And this is why we don't understand why even babies get sick or have diseases. How do we explain that? It's coming from these past impressions. And nature is finding a way to purge itself of the weight and density of these past impressions that we've carried for so long. And that purging process, when nature takes it up, comes forth in the form of dis-ease. Dis-ease. In meditation, we're going towards ease. You see, we're going towards ease. But if we don't remove the impressions, the samskaras, nature takes over and purges those through a feeling of dis-ease. That's the process. So, in my opinion, one of the greatest healings that we can have for ourselves is overcoming the fear of death. Death and the fear of death, the fear of not existing. It's looming there at some point in our life. It's waiting for us. It's there. Okay, it's coming. And as we get older, at least I can speak for myself, it starts looming even more. You start thinking about, I'm reaching the last 20-yard line of my life. What's going to happen to me before I reach the goalpost? Will I make it to the goalpost? Or what's going to happen? So one of the greatest healings is overcoming the fear of death. Because this fear drives our samskaras. It does. This is a fear that is the creator of dis-ease. So this is a huge one. And what I want to say about this is what we're practicing here weekly is the very method by which we overcome the fear of death. Because, as I've said many times, why do we fear so? Why do we fear? Every night, we lay our head on the pillow, and we can't wait to not exist. Every night. And we complain if we can't. We complain if I didn't get a good night's sleep. So, yet, in our daily life, we're terrified of the idea of dying. People are filled with terror about it. And yet every night we don't exist, we die. We don't exist. So why should we be so fearful? Okay, because we do wake up. So that's one reason. But in the bigger scheme of things, we also wake up. And we either wake up into another life here, or we wake up and have broken this cycle of life and rebirths and wake up into another more subtle dimension, subtler dimension, and maybe even the subtlest dimension. So those words apply there too. So when we meditate, we consciously let go. We consciously let go of our identity, of our personal identity. Because the ego, which is so much about self-preservation, we can't overcome the ego. The only way we can regulate it is by going deep in meditation consciously and letting go and losing ourselves and being happy with that. And we come out of the meditation, we feel so at peace, so centered. There's no sense of I-ness there. Such a relief. Isn't it? It's wonderful. So in this scope of healing, it has everything to do with what are our thoughts? Where are we directing our attention? And what are we taking up in our life to overcome fear of death and to regulate this overwhelming sense of I-ness, this overwhelming sense of self-preservation that the ego imposes upon us? So this is the way to personal health and emotional health and even physical health. So this thing we call meditation, it helps us on many, many, many levels. Now, does that mean that we don't face hardships? No. Does that mean that we don't face these illnesses and things that come in our way in our life? No. But we face them differently. We face them differently. In my own life, and you've heard me say this, I never thought, my whole life I was always healthy, I never thought that I would ever be in a hospital. And within 3 years' time, I had, 2 hip replacements. I had my gallbladder taken out. I had a stent put in my heart. I had brain surgery. I mean, I never thought, what the heck? But I can tell you something, that I went in all those cases, after a life of meditation, in all of those situations, I went in feeling completely fine. Even cracking jokes before surgery. And even coming out of surgery the next morning, the doctor's coming in and I'm sitting up in bed, making them laugh. So, I don't think that would have been the case had I not been on this trajectory of the path of self-mastery, which we call self-mastery. That's what we're on. We're on a path of self-mastery, where we master the regulation of the mind, the supplication of the ego, the ability to create a vacuum in a prayerful way and draw from the higher source to help us. Self-mastery is all about taking the action to be involved in our own self-evolution. This is what it's entirely about. And these things we call meditation and cleaning and prayer, all these are just they're tools. They're tools that we implement and use. Okay, now I'm going to get into a specific technique that is a healing technique that I haven't showed you, but I've already forgotten to do a couple of things when we started here, and I've completely forgot to do this, which is okay. It's it doesn't matter if I forgot as long as I remember again at some point in time. So let me share. I'm going to share something before I get into that, which is going to be part of our meditation. I want to share a poem. And, every once in a while I share one of my poems with you. And eventually a book is forthcoming of these poems. So I was going to start with this, but I didn't. So this poem is called Quench. Can I be that thirsty that nothing quenches me? Oh, guide, please show me the waterfall, the river, the mighty ocean. Quench my thirst with inseparable presence. I wanted to read that because it's a prayerful sort of poem. And it also relates to our topics. Okay, so that brings us to the top of the hour when we're going to meditate together. Now, we are going to take up a new technique today. And this is called, in Heartfulness, this is called fear detox. It's called fear detox. And it's a technique that you're going to learn right now that's very, very simple. And we will do it together. And when we do it, I will guide us into this. Then, as we always do, we will meditate together for about 25 minutes, 20 minutes probably. And then at the end, you'll clearly hear me say, that's all. And I will guide us out of the meditation. So with that, I invite all of you to please sit with your eyes closed. And let's take a slow, deep breath in. And let it go. And really feel your body relaxing. Allow your shoulders to drop down. And relax your arms, palms and fingers. Now I would like us all to imagine that we are just sitting in an ocean of bliss. Completely submerged in it. If you can't imagine it or feel it, just know that you are sitting in an ocean of bliss and you're completely submerged in this blissful ocean. Okay, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. I'll I'll share with you that after 15 minutes, I thought that this sitting was over. It felt so complete. And then I felt another subtlest level of it sort of start to unfold. And, yeah, before I knew it, another half hour had gone by. So that's how it works. All right, so with that, I would like to thank everyone for participating today in this session. And for those of you who have got to move on with your day, really have a great day today. It was so nice we could be together for a while and meditate together.